In the vast expanse of American air power, few moments capture the sheer audacity and capability of the U.S. military like the takeoff of an aircraft so stealthy, so deadly, that radar operators across the globe flinch at the very mention of its name. This is no ordinary machine. It's the embodiment of dominance, a predator in the skies, designed to be seen only when it wants to be. When U.S. pilots climb into the cockpit of the radar operator's most feared aircraft, the world pays attention. This isn't just about raw speed or sleek design. It's about what this plane represents: technological supremacy, strategic deterrence, and the ability to strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. The moment the engines roar to life, the mission transforms from a briefing in a secure hangar to a demonstration of unmatched aerial power. Whether it's the F-22 Raptor with its super cruise and unmatched maneuverability, the F-35 Lightning II with its sense of fusion and low observable technology, or even the B-2 Spirit, shaped like a ghost from a sci-fi future, these aircraft embody the terrifying reality of U.S. air superiority. Pilots walk to these machines with reverence, knowing they're not just flying aircraft, they're flying strategic game changers. As the jet taxis down the runway, all eyes shift. On the ground, maintainers give thumbs up. In the sky, adversaries hold their breath. The engines ignite with a fiery thrust that rattles the earth beneath and cracks the silence above. It's not just a takeoff, it's a warning. Somewhere beyond the horizon, radar operators scramble to recalibrate, hoping to catch even a whisper of these ghosts in the sky. But more often than not, they never do. These aircraft were engineered to exploit radar gaps, to use the terrain in electronic warfare, to slip through defenses, and to complete their mission long before an enemy knows what hit them. Each takeoff is a rehearsal for war, a meticulously coordinated ballet of speed, stealth, and strategy. The pilots are the best in the world, trained to operate in total silence, with absolute precision, under pressure most can't comprehend. And once airborne, they become invisible, literally. Tracking them is like chasing shadows in a thunderstorm. This is what terrifies enemy operators. Not just the jet's speed or its payload, but the unknown, the inability to predict or detect. From North Korean SAM sites to Russian radar outposts to Iranian air defense grids, they all have one thing in common: a deep and lingering fear of the U.S. pilot who vanishes into the clouds and strikes before the sirens can scream. These missions are often practiced in silence: black ops scenarios, cross-border penetrations, radar spoofing drills. But when these pilots take off, even in training, it sends a signal. The United States is not to be trifled with. The B-21 Raider will soon join this elite club, bringing next-gen stealth and deep penetration capability to battlefield, ensuring that the fear of U.S. air dominance continues to haunt radar rooms worldwide. When these aircraft lift off, it's not just metal leaving the ground. It's a strategic message to every adversary watching. You may not see us, but we are always watching you. From the moment wheels leave the tarmac, the radar operator's nightmare begins. These aircraft, whether it's the razor-edge stealth of an F-22, the sophisticated electronics of an F-35, or the dark, silent wings of the B-2 Spirit, don't just ascend, they vanish. For radar crews, it's as if the skies suddenly went silent. No blips, no echoes, just emptiness where a threat should be. And that's the genius of U.S. stealth technology. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't confront, it evades. And for the brave men and women who fly these machines, that stealth is their cloak of invincibility. But it's not just hardware, it's human skill. These pilots undergo years of intense training in simulated environments, live-fly exercises, electronic warfare scenarios, and real-world combat deployments. They study radar theory, evasive maneuvers, high-G dogfighting, and terrain masking like scholars of war. Because when they take off, they're not just relying on machines. They are the weapon. Every cockpit switch, every throttle push, every radar sweep, they've practiced it 1,000 times. And when the skies get hostile, muscle memory kicks in. They become part of the aircraft. And that's what makes them deadly. That's what keeps radar operators up at night. You can plan for drones. You can track conventional jets. But how do you prepare for a ghost in the sky with a human brain and a tactical mission? Take the F-22 Raptor, for instance. It doesn't just fly, It owns the air. Its thrust-vectoring nozzles give it agility that physics itself tries to deny. In a dogfight, it can flip end over end, outturning missiles, outmaneuvering enemies, making even the most advanced adversary feel like they're flying in molasses. It's not just about outgunning. It's about making sure the other guy never gets a shot off. And when it goes supersonic without afterburners, what they call super cruise, it can intercept, engage, and escape without ever being seen on radar. That's not just power. That's untouchable dominance. Now imagine pairing that with the F-35, a flying sensor fusion powerhouse. It sees everything. Air threats, ground targets, electronic signals. It takes that data, analyzes it in milliseconds, and feeds it into the pilot's helmet in a seamless stream of real-time awareness. The pilot doesn't just see out the front canopy. They can see through the floor, around the aircraft, even behind it thanks to 360-degree cameras and augmented reality. It's like strapping Iron Man's suit onto a stealth fighter. And when it launches from an aircraft carrier, like the USS Gerald R. Ford or Ford Base in Pacific, it brings fifth-gen capabilities to the front lines with lethal precision. But stealth doesn't mean it's toothless. The F-35 can carry deadly internal weapons, including AIM-120 AMRAAMs, JDAM precision bombs, and even a dreaded small-diameter bomb too that homes on moving targets like a heat-seeking ghost. And then there's the B-2 Spirit, the OG of stealth bombers. Looking like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, it glides silently through contested airspace like death itself. It can fly over 6,000 nautical miles without refueling, and with aerial tankers like the KC-135 and KC-46, its range is essentially global. Armed with nuclear and conventional payloads, it can decimate strategic enemy assets without anyone knowing it was there. Radar operators dread the B-2 not because they see it, but because they never do. It could be above them right now and they'd have no idea until it's too late. The training behind these missions is relentless. Red flag exercises in Nevada, Northern Edge drills in Alaska, Cobra Gold, Pacific Iron, Emerald Warrior. Every exercise fine-tunes the skills of U.S. pilots and refines the integration between stealth, electronic warfare, satellite surveillance, and human decision-making. It's not just about flying. It's about fighting in the unseen domain. It's about confusing radar, spoofing signals, jamming enemy communications, and striking so fast and hard the enemy command structure collapses before it can react. And while stealth dominates the air, radar operators know there's more. The U.S. deploys these aircraft alongside formidable AWACS platforms like the E-3 Sentry and the upcoming E-7 Wedgetail, which extend radar coverage and coordination. Combined with stealth fighters, tankers, satellites, and ground teams, the U.S. creates a multi-layered web of air dominance. And in that web, radar operators are the prey. Let's not forget the electronic warfare masters, the EA-18G Growlers. These jets accompany stealth missions to blind and confuse enemy radar even further. They emit powerful signals that create false targets, overwhelm enemy sensors, and shield the real aircraft from detection. It's a thunderstorm of electronic chaos, and it's all part of the U.S. playbook. And the playbook is evolving. The NGAD program, Next Generation Air Dominance, is already underway. Its goal? To develop the sixth-generation fighter that will replace the F-22. Imagine a stealth fighter that flies further, thinks faster, and even deploys drone wingmen autonomously. That's the future radar operators fear the most. Not just the current ghosts, but the ones coming next. The U.S. is building AI-assisted cockpits, laser weapons, and advanced stealth coatings that dynamically adapt to the environment. It's science fiction turned reality, and it's coming to a runway near you. When a U.S. pilot takes off in one of these aircraft, it's not just an airshow stunt. It's a declaration of strategic superiority. It's the result of $1 trillion investment in freedom, in deterrence, and an overwhelming technological advantage. The radar operators watching from hostile bunkers across the globe know the truth. The moment that aircraft lifts off, their clock starts ticking. And more often than not, they won't even know they've been hit until the lights go out. And just when you think the radar operators have a handle on things, the U.S. throws in another curveball, drone technology. Enter the MQ-9 Reaper, RQ-1 170 Sentinel, and the upcoming Loyal Wingman programs. These unmanned aircraft aren't just recon tools, they're full-fledged battlefield assets. The Reaper loiters silently over conflict zones, loaded with Hellfire missiles and GBU-12 bombs, identifying, tracking, and eliminating threats with surgical precision. The Sentinel, cloaked in mystery and advanced stealth, has been spotted over Iran, Afghanistan, and other high-stakes theaters, gathering intelligence that human pilots couldn't dream of accessing without risking an international incident. But the future is even more terrifying for radar operators, because drones are getting smarter, they're getting faster, and they're learning to fly and fight in perfect tandem with crewed aircraft. The concept of man-unmanned teaming is changing warfare itself. Soon, an F-35 or NG-80 fighter won't be flying alone. It'll have a swarm of AI-powered drones flying ahead, jamming enemy radars, spotting SAM sites, and even engaging targets before the pilot ever breaks radar coverage. For the radar operator, it's like playing chess against an invisible grandmaster who sees every move before it's made. And the worst part? You never see it coming. Because these drones don't fly like traditional aircraft. They don't give off the same heat signatures. They don't follow predictable flight paths. They're designed to confuse, to disrupt, and to dominate. They're the new ghosts in the sky, and they're being built faster than the enemy can counter. And while the skies evolve, so do the missions. In the Indo-Pacific, where tensions continue to rise, U.S. pilots are conducting operations that push the limits of endurance and reach. Long-range bomber patrols, maritime reconnaissance, and carrier-based air dominance missions are being flown every day, many completely undetected. U.S. stealth bombers have taken off from Missouri and struck targets halfway across the globe without once being seen on radar. In the Arctic, the F-22s of Alaska's Third Wing patrol the frozen skies, conducting intercepts of Russian aircraft that get a little too close to U.S. airspace. They climb fast, fly hard, and make their presence known, not on radar, but in person. And in Europe, after the invasion of Ukraine, F-35s were deployed forward to reassure allies and deter aggression. They didn't just show up. They took over the skies, seamlessly integrating with NATO air defense networks and becoming the backbone of deterrence in a new age of hybrid warfare. But the radar operator's nightmare doesn't stop at the aircraft. It extends into space. U.S. satellites work in tandem with stealth aircraft, providing real-time intelligence, battlefield mapping, and early warning capabilities. When a U.S. pilot takes off, he's not flying alone. He has the eyes of a satellite constellation above him, guiding, informing, and supporting every second of flight. And if a stealth aircraft does happen to get painted by radar, no problem. Electronic warfare kicks in. Decoys are launched. Radar-absorbing panels shift. And in the blink of an eye, the aircraft vanishes once more into the mist of war. Some call it magic, but it's not. It's American engineering ingenuity and air superiority brought to life. And it all comes together in the cockpit. That's where it becomes real. Because despite all the technology, all the stealth, and all the software, it's still the pilot who makes the call. These men and women are chosen from the best. They endure grueling selection processes, flight school, survival training, and years of constant readiness. They train to fight blind, to fight alone, to fight surrounded, and win. They are war fighters, guardians of freedom, and the sharp edge of American resolve. And when they take off in their aircraft, they carry not just weapons but responsibility. The responsibility to strike only when necessary, to protect allies, to uphold international law, and to win wars before they even begin. That's why radar operators fear them, because they know that once the U.S. pilot is airborne, the battle might already be over. There's no time to scramble interceptors, no time to calibrate anti-air batteries, no time to react. The stealth, the speed, the coordination, it's overwhelming. It's surgical. It's final. These aircraft don't just dominate airspace. They erase opposition. And when these pilots return from mission, there's often no fanfare, no drama, just another day defending the sky. But the message to enemies is clear. America's pilots own the night, the sky, and the future. And the radar operators watching, whether from underground bunkers, mobile radar trucks, or naval command centers, know exactly what that means. It means they've already lost the element of surprise. It means they're playing catch-up with ghosts. It means that every time they hear the silent roar of jet engines piercing the heavens, they're witnessing the sound of unmatched power and invisible dominance. And while other nations try to catch up, developing their own stealth programs, building copycat aircraft, and hyping futuristic designs, none match the complete ecosystem the U.S. has built. It's not just one plane. It's a doctrine. It's a way of war that fuses air, sea, space, and cyber. It's the confidence that comes from generations of air dominance. From the Thunderbolts and Mustangs of World War II, to the Eagles and Tomcats of the Cold War, to the Raptors and Lightnings of today. And the legacy doesn't stop. With every new flight, every new sortie, every new test program, America's pilots are pushing the edge further. They're rewriting what it means to fly. And they're proving to every radar operator watching that stealth isn't a trend. It's a way of life. And it's here to stay. Because when the sky is full of threats, when radar screens glow with uncertainty, there's one sound you never want to hear. It's not a missile alert. It's not a scramble order. It's silence. The silence that follows a U.S. stealth jet taking off. The silence that means it's already too late. Because by the time you hear the afterburner roar, it's already over. And just when adversaries think they might have found a gap, a way to even the odds, a moment of potential to counter or repel U.S. aerial superiority, that hope is crushed by the emergence of yet another groundbreaking advancement in America's air combat capability, the integration of sixth-generation warfare. The U.S. Air Force's Next Generation Air Dominance, NGAD, program isn't just another plane. It's the beginning of a completely new dimension of warfare. This is an evolution. It's a revolution. A sixth-gen aircraft isn't defined just by speed, stealth, or sensors. It's defined by the ability to adapt mid-mission, to operate across contested domains, to switch between crewed and uncrewed configurations, and to command swarms of drones in real time, all while remaining invisible to most advanced radar systems ever built. Imagine a warplane that can decide its own evasive maneuvers faster than a human brain, jam enemy systems before they're even online, and use artificial intelligence to predict an enemy's strategy based on a decade of behavioral data. That's NGAD. And it terrifies radar operators around the world because it redefines what a target even means. In the new era of warfare, the enemy doesn't know whether it's fighting a machine, a man, or an entire network of autonomous strike assets. But it doesn't stop there. The true terror for radar operators isn't just the aircraft. It's a convergence of capability. The United States has perfected the art of joint operations. When an aircraft like an F-22 or an F-35 takes off, it isn't flying solo. It's part of an invisible web that stretches from cyber units in underground bunkers to satellites orbiting above the Earth. From naval destroyers sending encrypted targeting data to Air Force command centers coordinating strikes across continents. When American pilots take off, they do so knowing the exact location of enemy radar installations, SAM sites, jamming towers, and mobile launchers, even before wheels leave the ground. Through systems like STARS, AWACS, and real-time ISR feeds, pilots enter combat zones with full situational awareness, knowing they have a kill chain that spans oceans and continents. This network warfare ensures that even if a radar operator does spot a blip on the screen, the odds of reacting fast enough are practically zero. Even more chilling for adversaries is the rise of hypersonic and space-based technologies that extend American aerial dominance into realms no radar can touch. Hypersonic test aircraft and glide vehicles, traveling at Mach 5+, can deliver payloads or gather intelligence before a radar operator even knows they're inbound. These speeds make current defense systems obsolete in mere seconds. In parallel, the U.S. Space Force is enhancing orbital surveillance, early warning, and satellite reconnaissance, meaning that even space is no longer a sanctuary. A radar operator in a hostile nation might be watching a blank sky, but overhead, a satellite or hypersonic drone could be streaming real-time footage back to a command post in the continental U.S., feeding data to F-35s preparing for a surgical strike before the operator can even call for backup. It's asymmetrical warfare at its finest, a battle where the radar operator isn't a defender, but a bystander. This overwhelming dominance is no accident. It's the result of relentless training, investment, and a culture built on innovation. At bases like Nellis, Eglin, and Edwards, Pilots push these machines to their limits in simulated combat that replicates the deadliest threats the world has to offer. Red Flag exercises pit elite airmen against each other in massive war games that train for everything, from dogfights in GPS-jammed environments to low-visibility infiltration strikes. Meanwhile, U.S. Navy aviators honed their skills launching from aircraft carriers in pounding seas and landing on decks barely wider than a tennis court. These men and women fly in all weather at all hours and under all threats, constantly preparing for the day they'll need to silence a radar screen somewhere halfway across the globe. And when that day comes, they're ready, not just with the equipment, but with the mindset. Because for U.S. pilots, success isn't just survival, it's superiority. Even the psychological aspect of U.S. air power is weaponized. The sound of a U.S. fighter jet roaring overhead, the sight of a stealth bomber silhouette against a moonlit sky, the knowledge that these machines can strike at any moment without warning. It's all part of the message. A message that tells radar operators, commanders, and enemy pilots alike, we see you, we can reach you, and we will defeat you before you even know what's happening. It's the kind of psychological warfare that demoralizes enemy ranks, weakens resolve, and creates hesitation, the deadliest condition in any combat environment. Because hesitation leads to delay. Delay leads to disaster. And in the seconds it takes an enemy radar operator to react, a U.S. aircraft has already locked on, launched, and left without ever showing up on a screen. And as American air power continues to evolve, so too does the culture behind it. Today's pilots are not only warriors, they're engineers, tacticians, and innovators. They're working hand in hand with defense contractors, programmers, and space tech developers to fine-tune every aspect of the next fight, whether it's enhancing electronic warfare, upgrading helmet-mounted displays, or integrating real-time drone feeds into cockpit UIs. They're building the future while preparing to fly it. These pilots aren't just reacting to the future, they're designing it. That's what makes them unstoppable. And that's what makes their aircraft the most feared on Earth. So when a U.S. pilot climbs into the cockpit and the engines scream to life, the world watches. Some with admiration, others with envy, but all with a healthy dose of fear. Because they know what's coming. They know that radar screens might light up with noise and confusion, but there's no stopping what's inbound. They know that America's pilots don't fly to lose. They fly to win. To protect the homeland, defend allies, and ensure that the sky remains not just a battlefield, but an American stronghold. And for every radar operator sitting in a dark bunker, listening to static and praying their systems hold, the nightmare is real, because somewhere out there, a U.S. aircraft just took off, and it's already on the way.